Hi guys and welcome back. As you can see from my background, I'm moving. I'm headed to Hong Kong right now where I will spend a couple of days, but I will keep you posted about what's going on into this market. So the big topic of today is which are the big narratives that can make us the 10x, 20x, 50x, because at the end of the story, that's the goal of all of us, multiplying the money in the most efficient way. And in order to do that, what we need to understand is which are the hottest trends for the next bull run. And let me add one thing, guys. Yes, right now the price of Bitcoin is increasing. Maybe we can even go to the all-time high. I don't think so, at least not so early. But the reality is that with any probability, the big bull run will start just by the end of the year. But in the meantime, we need to be ready. We need to understand which are the narratives that we have to monitor. So what I have done for you is identifying the top three narratives that I believe at least could overperform the market. And for each of them, I will tell you which is the leader. The leader is important to be understood and to be tracked because it's the one that is setting the rules. And in a moment when this one is pumping with any probability also sooner or just after that, also the other altcoins in that narrative, in that category, will start pumping. And aside from that, I will tell you for each category, which are the other two projects that I'm tracking, that I'm keeping an eye on, that I believe that can do from 10x to 50x. Yes, because most of them are mid cap, small caps that can overperform by far the leader of the category, and obviously also Bitcoin and Ethereum and all the others. As always, guys, that's what I'm sharing is just my personal opinion. Nothing is for granted. Do always your research because what I'm doing here is not financial advices. I'm here just to help you to navigate this market, sharing which is my point of view on it. And guys, don't forget to check it out our weekly newsletter. As you can see, we are publishing much more in the last couple of weeks. And the reason is because this is the season. This is airdrop season. It means that many airdrops are coming and we are sharing each week several guides completely for free that you can check and start following in order to qualify for these airdrops. Plus, guys, don't forget, please, to leave us a big thumbs up, drop a comment to the comment section below, and yes, we are ready to start with the first big narrative. And stay tuned until the end of this video because as you will see at the end of the video, I have prepared for you a bonus category where I'm talking about something that is just moving the first steps, but is pretty promising and can perform pretty well during the next bull run. So I want to start with the first. The first category is probably something that all of you would say, yes, I know that one. Yes, I understand, but it's important to understand what is for real this category. Because as you can see, yes, AI, that's the category I want to talk about. It is something, it is literally a buzzword. But what is for real AI and which could be the different kind of use cases and application that can literally pump this market? Because AI is not literally just about algorithm and artificial intelligence. When it comes to blockchain, we have to understand that AI and blockchain can overlap together. Why? Simply because an AI, in order to perform at his best, what it needs is about data, qualitative data. And the blockchain can literally provide to an AI the best data as possible, encrypting them and managing in a way that is more also could be, for example, GDPR compliant and so on. And the big boss into this category, it's a new name, at least relatively new because it's pumping like hell. And I'm talking about BitTensor. BitTensor is a layer one that is implementing and is using AI as a core of its infrastructure. And if you're wondering why in the last couple of days we have seen an insane run by BitTensor, because look at the chart, we were just here around 200, not even like 1 month ago, and right now we are like 3 times higher. So we're talking about $600. And what happened is that Vitalik, in a certain way, endorsed BitTensor because what he said is that among the many projects that are just using AI as a buzzword, BitTensor is one that is literally pushing in the right direction because blockchain and AI could overlap in many things. And guys, don't fall in love with the word AI. That's just a buzzword. And yes, I understand that many projects could pump just because they are about AI. But the reality is that if you are looking for the real juicy multiplier, if you wanna that, well, you need to understand the value of the project. And BitTensor so far has demonstrated that they can go into the right direction and could be the point of reference of the whole industry. Going on and talking about which are a couple of projects that I believe that are not yet so big but could be interesting when it comes to AI. I'm talking about IOTS network, that we are talking about something that has 150 million of FTV. Just to give you an idea, BitTensor right now has an FTV that is about 3.5 billion. So we are already talking about something that has 20 times more the market cap of IOTS. So that's the reason why I like IOTS. IOTS is a project, as you can see also from the chart, that has pretty a long history. It started a while ago around the end of the previous bull run and has kept developing into the whole bear market. Right now, it is ready to start moving. IOTS network is about data and about a decentralized network of cloud computing. Basically, that's what it is. I don't want to go too much deeper because that's not what I care right now. What I care right now is identifying the narrative. The first narrative is AI and which are the projects. The leader, in this case, BitTensor, and two projects that could be like runner-up, not to compete directly maybe with BitTensor, but can overperform the market. And IOTS, in my opinion, I think that in the long run could perform pretty well. The other project I want to mention is something that not so many people are talking about, and I'm referring to the Lithium that it has the token AGI and has a market cap right now. It's so small, just 35 million. And the reason why I really like it is because it's coming from a team that has been into Y Combinator. Y Combinator, if you are wondering, is the biggest accelerator incubator in the world. Dropbox, for example, came out from this investor and also from the investor profile. As you can see here, they already raised about 40 million and they have many different investors. As you can see, almost any kind of investor that is moving steps into this industry, it's into this thing. So I really like the Elysium because it's still a little bit in the shadows, so not so much hype around, but it could grow pretty well. So that's my big bet in terms of small cap that can really perform and outperform the market. Just let me add one thing, even if the market cap right now is pretty small, let's not forget that the FTV is already the same FTV of IOTS network. The main difference is that IOTS network was something that was coming from the previous bull run. The Elysium is something that has just spawned right now. That's the reason why many tokens are still vested. Going to the second big trend, big narrative, it's about cross-chain. I know many of you maybe are underestimating, or maybe they are thinking that cross-chain is something that is about the past. The reality is that cross-chain, it is a thing of now. It is the big next trend, mainly because right now we have so many chains that is simply unthinkable that the user can use each single blockchain like we were used into the previous bull run. Users need a much more smoother experience. Doesn't matter in which chain they have their own funds, they need to use any kind of chain. We have seen so many projects just launching. Just Zeta Chain just had their own airdrop and their own launch. We have seen Omnichain is pushing, and many others are going into that direction. Today, I want to talk about three projects. The leader is obviously Layer 0. I know Layer 0 is still undergoing, it still has to be launched, but the reality is that Layer 0 is the leader of the category. Maybe the next future, I hope that something will change. Honestly speaking, I'm not a big fan of the technology of Layer 0, but it's undeniable that they have already raised so much money. If you look here, Layer 0, They have already raised something like 263 million with a market cap, or better, an evaluation at that time that was already higher than 2 billion. So we are talking about the big elephant in the room. It doesn't mean that layer zero will be the big winner. Maybe things can change. And the two projects that I want to present to you are projects that are having a market cap and also a financial capability is nothing compared to what we have seen to layer zero. But on the other side, I have a much more powerful weapon, and I will explain to you just in a moment. So the first project I want to present to you is Seller Network. It's a blockchain exactly as layer zero that is trying to go into the same direction. They raised about 4 million at a 67 million of evaluation. They already launched their own token and they have an FTV that is just about 187 million. Just to give you an idea, it means that they have around 20, 40 X different from layer zero. And that's an important weapon because, guys, remember, people fell in love with projects that are able to give them money. One story is having a holding into layer zero that will be launching probably at the valuation will be an FTV about 10 billion. Well, growing for a project has an already valuation so high. Well, that's another story. It's much more complex. Growing for a project has just a 100 million market cap and not even 200 million FTV. Well, it's much easier. And the point is that when a person, when an investor is seeing that his own bags are doing like 2x, 5x, 10x, and that's the kind of multiplier that's absolutely possible to be done through this kind of medium caps. Well, in that moment, the relationship is tightening between the project and the investor. And maybe that kind of thing could be the flywheel that can start and can push a project, pushing its own adoption, pushing them to raise more money, and so on. And the same concept applies to another project, still a small project. We are talking about Router Protocol. They just launched right now their own mainnet. It is much cheaper, for example, than what we have seen with Layer Zero. It's still a small project, a small community, but it's growing pretty much. And the reason why I really like it is because they have an FTV and a market cap that is even lower. We are just talking about 80 million with a market cap about 60. For full disclosure, they just changed tokenomics. That's also the reason why you are seeing this big crash after the big pump that was connected to the launch of the mainnet. The market didn't react well to the change of the tokenomics. The project has gone from a deflationary to inflationary tokenomics. The reality is that, at least that's my opinion, it doesn't matter if a project is inflationary or deflationary. We have seen Solana inflation, but it's pumping like crazy. We have seen deflationary tokens, including Router Protocol, was just sitting on a market cap that was about 10 million, so like nothing. The reality is that it doesn't matter which is the tokenomics. What matters is the ability of the project to create value for the whole ecosystem and attracting users. So if Router Protocol will be able to do that, well, that's a big step forward, and there is the opportunity to start pushing in the right direction. Router Protocol has also just been listed on Bybit, and that's the first step for a growth. So my two bets when it comes to cross-chain are Router Protocol and Seller Network. I'm not saying that I will stick to these two choices for the whole bull run because that's a space that is changing pretty fast. I'm still waiting to see Omnichain and all the new projects that have still to launch their own token. Squid Protocol, it's another one. And the whole difference will be at which FTV and at which market cap they will be launching. Because honestly speaking, buy something that has already 2 billion market cap, well, it's tough. I'm not saying that they can't overperform, but it means that it's much more difficult. The reality is that look just at one number. And the number that we have to look is the ranking. Ask yourself, will be that project able to improve, to increase their own ranking? Because that's the key. You need to choose projects that are overperforming. And it's all about the ranking. And having a project is just launching and has already like the 50 position into ranking, Well, it's pretty tough to improve that one because the competition is tough. It's really high and it's increasing every day. I'd rather go for something that has a ranking much lower. Like, for example, in this case, we are talking about 539. And when it comes to seller network, is about 361. So pretty good position to start and to grow. Going to the last big trend, big narrative, it's all about, guys, real world asset. I have been talking about this big narrative since like literally 2 years ago, and I was already telling you guys, real world asset will change everything. And this is what is happening. Obviously, the big boss in this area is MakerDAO. They started everything. They are connected with institutions. I know that many of you, they are thinking, we don't want to have institutions because they are TradFi. We want to build a new ecosystem about finance, something that is using blockchain and can change the rules of this game. The reality is that in order to transition to a new world, we need big players, we need institutions, and we need to have them embracing the blockchain. So I love to see MakerDAO and all the projects are starting to work with this kind of institutions. The other big name into this space is called Ondo, and that's another project you have to follow. In this case, I'm using these two because we are talking about a space real world assets aside from Ondo and MakerDAO. All of the others, even Centrifuge, that is a pretty important project, they are still having a market cap that is not even 200 million with an FTV that is not even half a billion. So we are still talking about all of them small projects. So when it comes to real world assets, well, it's much more to understand if the overall adoption is growing or not. And that's something that you can understand from the market cap of MakerDAO and Ondo. If all of them, if both of them are growing, well, there is space also for the other projects. I have selected as my bet Swarm Markets, even if they just suffered an exploit. And if from one side, that's pretty bad because it's a big reputational problem. Imagine you're an institution, you are just moving your first steps into this space and you are seeing an hack. Well, that's not a good sign. On the other side, they have been able to solve the situation pretty smoothly and they can restart. Obviously, I want to see also a reaction of the price because as you can see, we had this big dump and I would like to see a retest of the local high that was about 40, 0.40, and breaking that resistance. If Swarm Markets will be able to do that, well, we are still talking about something that has 50 million market cap with an FTV that is about 60 million. So really small things. For these projects doing 10x, 50x, 100x, it is something that is absolutely doable. I'm following the whole narrative about real world asset. We can talk about the money protocol, we can talk about Polytrade, we can talk about Maple, Goldfinch, and many projects also in the real estate. Reality is one, Prop Chain, and many others are just launching right now. Expect this category to be able to produce many projects that will be able to reach 50x and 100x, mainly because all of them are starting from the ground. So from the scratch up, well, there is much space to go. Last category as a bonus that I promise you, guys, that's something that is pretty new, at least as a word, pretty bad word to be fair. It's called DePin. That is sounds pretty bad. Probably I'm also pronouncing not in the right way. It doesn't matter. It simply means decentralized physical infrastructure. So it is a network of physical things that are connecting each other, maybe to collect information about, for example, I'm using an application that's called Silencio that I'm going around and collecting about the noise, the pollution noise into different places, and I'm rewarded with points that could be transformed into a token. But it could be happening for infrastructure of any kind. And the big boss into this category is called Helium. Helium just partnered with a big player in the United States and they launched a mobile infrastructure, or better, a mobile subscription to use to connect to the internet and so on. And that's a big step forward because creating this kind of decentralized infrastructure in this network using physical things that maybe they usually are used in different ways. That's, for example, the use case of another project. I really like it, that is called Storage. I love it for the same reason why I'm loving, for example, Swarm, Stellar, or Root. I'm not saying that they are the best, but I'm saying that they are small enough to give me a reward that could be pretty high. Yes, the risk is much higher. One story is going for storage, another story is going, for example, to Filecoin. Filecoin is a big infrastructure. It's a big player. They have a market cap that is much bigger, but obviously the upside is much lower. It doesn't mean that Filecoin or other big players, they can't do 20x, 50x, and 100x. But in order to do that, we need adoption. And adoption, that means big players start using it, start pouring money into this industry. That's something that can happen, but honestly, I think it is much easier for a small project to start growing and reaching a decent market cap, especially during a bull run. But that's just my own idea. What I can tell you is, guys, keep an eye on the whole category, because DePin, that's something, the whole physicality, the whole physical decentralized infrastructure, that's something that will play a big role into the next run. And also in this case, many projects will start from the scratch. So keep an eye on them, because they can literally overperform the market. Guys, let me know which is your favorite one among the ones that I have presented to you, and in your opinion, which will be the big narratives that will play a big role into the next bull run. See you soon, guys. And don't forget to leave us a big thumbs up and drop a comment to the comment section below. Thank you, guys. See you soon.